Was
man.
that the greatest UFC fight ever?
God damn it, man. It's so hard to tell. There's so many good ones these days.
But the
it was
personality
one of the all-time
clashes,
greats.
plus the fact that Connor's considered, already he's considered one of the greatest. Some people might say he's the greatest of all time. Some people might say that just based on what they've seen.
It is amazing. But then there's Carlos Condit, Robbie Lawler.
And then Nate Diaz as well. Nate Diaz, the guy that people consider the new unstoppable force, Nate Diaz stopped him. He choked him out. Now, second fight, it could have went either way. You know, I had Nate Diaz winning, but when looking back at it again, I'm like, shit, that second round, that's a hard one to score. I see how it could have gone either way. I really do.
It's almost a shame in a fight that's that close. Like, I would like to see what the results are. I think the majority of people thought that Conor won, and this is what I think you have to consider, those knockdowns. And that Conor was staggering him with those straight lefts and cracking him with those leg kicks. You look at like decisive moments in the fight. I feel like those decisive moments of super crisp punching where he knocks him down, where he's repeatedly landing that leg kick, that's kind of worth a lot. Like he was lighting him up.
But
early in that first round,
if it meant that much, you could look at it another way. If it meant that much, maybe it didn't mean that much, because if it did, how was he on his back when the fight ended and Nate Diaz is on top, grounding and pounding? Like, if all that meant so much, maybe it didn't mean that much after all.
Well, I don't know, man. You know,
that's just another way of looking at it. Because in Pride, it's everybody knows that they judge fights based on how the fight looks at the end. So how would the Japanese look at that?
Well, that moment where Nate's on top is huge. When he finally takes him down, that's huge.
I thought that cinched it. That's what I thought. I thought, okay, it's over. He got this round. Boom.
That's pretty huge, because also it's at the end of the fight, which I agree with you. I think it should matter more. Like the Japanese had it for where the last round was like the most important, right? They judge the fight as a whole, but
how does it look at the end?
Right.
Who's getting their ass beat at the end?
Which is a real point, right? Because the whole idea about what a fight's supposed to be, it's supposed to be like high-level problem solving, right?
Yeah.
And there's some guys that present like real scary problems, and you got to figure those problems out, and whoever's winning towards the end is the guy that really figured the problem out the best. Because the guy who's on the ground, you shouldn't really be thinking in a fight, I'm already ahead, I'm just going to let this guy get on top of me. Like, nobody's thinking that, right? So if the guy does take you down late in the fight, it's because he's starting to overwhelm you.
Yeah.
That should be worth a lot. It should be worth a lot. I don't know how much, though. I mean, how much should a knockdown like the ones that Conor landed? This is a slobber knocker. Oh, my God. These guys are going after it.
Oh, shit.
Jim Miller throwing some bombs. Holy shit. This is outstanding. Oh, straight right by Lozon. Lozon! Oh, my God.
Lozon got that good jab.
He's got real good boxing, man. Very good fundamentals. And heart. Both of these guys got some heart. It's interesting, man, deciding how fights should be scored, because I don't think they've got it down yet. I think it still needs work as a system, because I think we had a bad head start in MMA, starting off with a 10-point must system. I just don't think it's adequate for all the aspects of MMA. Boxing is only judging one dimension. They're only judging one style of striking. It's just with the hands. That's it. There's a clear rule set. You could teach somebody it. I don't think a lot of people totally understand who's even winning fights sometimes. You know, I don't think people understand who's in a bad position and who's totally safe. I just think there has to be a level of competency in martial arts themselves to truly grasp it at the highest level. That's why I think like former fighters would be, like Ricardo Almeida, I know, is doing it in New Jersey, which is awesome, and he's a brilliant guy, and he was a great fighter too. And a black belt in jiu-jitsu, completely understands the ground. Like, that's the kind of guy you want being a judge. Like, that's perfect. You want a guy who really understands the sport. And we have to make some sort of consensus as to what's most important. Like, if you're gonna judge the fight the way we're doing it right now, round by round, and a guy could just be overwhelming the guy towards the end of the fight, and it looks like he's winning, and he loses a decision. which I think we all agree is like, it just doesn't make any sense.
See, right here, here's a good example.
Yep.
The first half of this round, Jim Miller's all over Joe Lozon, landing the bigger shots, but now the round's ending with Joe Lozon getting the takedown and
passing over his half guard right now.
Maybe not doing the same kind of damage that Jim Miller was doing on him on their feet. So if the round ends here,
yeah,
some people would give it to Jim, some people would give it to Joe.
Yeah. Well, this is an awesome round because there's
unless
still
it's
2 minutes
clearly
to go
defined,
almost.
unless it's in like a rule. If in that situation, like they have those situations written out, all the situations. How do you score it in this situation? But then you basically take the judging out of it, and then it's more like a judging system is it supposed to be an exact science, or do you want? I mean,
it's weird, man, because you and I might disagree. Oh, look at that elbow. I mean, it's very possible that we might disagree about certain aspects of scoring.
Or maybe it's good that you can't trust the judges. Then that forces the fighters to not leave it in the hands of the judges, like everyone else says. Like,
man, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. There's so many MMA fans out there that would make amazing judges.